think, to get his libation, and then I've got the bullpen set up here with the notes, and then we're gonna start here in just a sec. So
Okay, I'm good. I am also getting my libation, but it's not actually a libation. It's just more water.
yeah, that's what I've got right.
Yeah. Sometime I'll have to do this on a Thursday.
Mm. All right, so let me get off camera myself.
And let me come in on camera. And today.
I guess for me, I should, since we're doing this off work hours, I should nix my.
I'm trying to come in camera on my phone, and I'm not seeing where my option is just do phone audio.
Oh, so you're connected on your phone right now, right?
I want audio on my phone and video on my microphone is off, and video on my computer. Sorry.
Okay. So I think the only way to join video is going to be on your computer for this.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Hello. I'm working out a technical issue. Give me a moment.
Lisa Schwartz. I got Lisa Schwartz.
Yeah, except I think I'm about to make a bad sound happen.
Okay, we won't listen.
I'm trying really hard. Well, from my computer, not myself. Okay, I'm hitting join now. There we go.
We got the dramatic intro music for you.
Yeah, you got as you came on board. It was great.
Oh, awesome.
Worked out. Victor.
Hello, hello.
Micah, thank you. Look at that.
All right.
Yeah,
I think the
hey.
recording's working. So
you've got video recording, Ben?
Yep. Yeah, I'm just basically recording this whole screen here, so I think that works.
Okay,
I'm all
because I was
today because I'm all like
bite the bullet on Google's the functional stuff, and I'd really like to not if I don't have to. I am going to do the Zoom thing. I got to add that onto my to-do list.
There we go. Got the camera switched over. It took me a minute to find where that was here. And
Mike, you're going to get pounced on today because actually I'm going to be talking a little bit about OBS, and I'm going to do the high level, like even an idiot could do it, and then that way it'll be me. I'm going to go for when the idiot was doing it, and Ben was like this high and I was like here. We relied on Micah in the middle to kind of help me along. So
I'm you and I here, Ben, like off the camera up here somewhere.
All right, so give me just one more moment to grab one more thing. By the way, and I'll warn you guys of this, I think we will have both late arrivals and kind of sporadic arrivals. We'll have some people kind of jumping in.
Well, that's what happy hour is all about, right? Show up when you can, do what you can.
This was kind of my plan, and I figured with the kind of agenda out there, we'd see a little bit, and everybody would kind of get a little taste of all of this stuff, and hopefully if we can record it, we can play it back and then people can see stuff. Bianca, thank you so much for joining us. I'm super psyched that you're here too. Lisa, I plan on I plan on doing the assumptive close with you and getting you to help and bring in potentially some of the folks from the process training side of the fence and maybe contribute at an upcoming one, because I thought it would be interesting for that. With that said, one of the first things I'm going to do is grab in my plethora of documents a document that I'm going to share a link with to you guys. I'm going to paste it in the list. So here's the thing. Last time I tried to take notes, they were awful. And this time I've come to the conclusion that what I'd like to do is ask you all to share some of these. Hang on.
This is the part of the show. This is the part on Sprockets where we outsource.
Perfect. Yes, what he said. I already ran into the same thing I did last time, which is I can't figure out which one of the 18 screens I'm on.
All right, Sean, are you ready? Do you need the countdown? Because it's 11 o'clock on a Friday night or 11:30 on a Friday night. It's like time to go.
Right? Depending on who, yeah, it's time to do it. All right, hang on one sec. I will share this one more thing. All right, if you guys will follow this link to this doc, then what I'll tell you is that is a doc that I use when I facilitate any session for people to add notes, contribute, add their thoughts, pieces, and bits that they learned. I will try to take notes when you all are talking. So when you're talking, I'll drop in the back and do the notes and add the stuff. You all now have access and editing access. The idea, though, is that you'll take some ownership of that too. And when you take that ownership, that includes adding yourself to the participants list, adding ideas that you have that you want to add, questions that you want us to research, even references that you think are good references or ideas, or follow-ups for where we can follow up on those things. I tried to set the doc up so that you guys could do that, but the cool thing about that is, for us, is that all attendees will have the advantage of being able to take advantage of that doc. So you'll be able to use it. You'll also contribute to it, but you'll get the benefit of at least 8 other people's value as they add ideas, thoughts, and values to it. Does that make sense? Everybody good?
It does indeed.
Ben, we need practice at a good kickoff sting because I don't really have one. So I'm going to ask you to take a look to that.
Ooh, let's see. So, let's see. Well, yeah, I'll have to get one for you. But I was like, let's just do.
We'll do that for the next time. But for now, I'm looking for like a Price is Right or something.
Oh, that we can do, my friend. That we can do. All right.
I figured.
We got you, fam.
All right. Well, and while we're blending those pieces in, one of the things I want to kind of do as well is get to just the general gist. You guys all have the list, and this is what I wanted to make sure I went through. I'm going to try to do this every month. I want to get the whole year in. The general layout for this for us will be the first 15 minutes or first 20 minutes is an open session. And by open session, I mean it's an opportunity for any volunteer to try or practice anything they want. Now, initially, we used to do this with people doing demo training, right? But I'd like to open that up some more and get people to, I want to bounce this idea off you. I have this thing I'm struggling with, but I want to try it. I don't know. How does this sound? How is this? It doesn't have to be a canned presentation. It could be just a 10-minute window of, let me try this thing, or this is what I'm stuck with. And then you've got a group of really experienced people that span not just ServiceNow, but as we can see, everything from security, enablement, sales, and training to larger and broader audiences to give feedback on this. So with that, I didn't get any volunteers. So I'm going to shut up for 15 seconds and see if anybody has anything that they want to throw to the floor that they want to noodle on.
So we're just like tapping it. We're just like open mic, like ready to go. Okay.
What are we volunteering for? I missed it.
This would be, I want to open it up past a 10-minute try your own presentation or what it is you've got to teach next to here's something in the world of training or facilitation that I'm struggling with. It can be here, let me try this training game with y'all. Imagine you knew this. Or it can be hey, I'm stuck with how do I get past this? Or it can be, I don't know. Let me know.
I got an idea. Something that just happened today.
Ooh.
Just finished up a class, got some of the feedback, and our courses, right? Module 0, we do a little intro, right? Like everybody can, take a minute or two, test out their microphone, introduce themselves. One person really didn't like that.
Really?
And I have the same cohort coming back tomorrow. So that's easy, right? Different class, same cohort, same group of people. I'm not going to do that all again, right? So for this particular thing, like, got it sorted. But what would we do? Like, they wanted to just 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 3, like dive straight into the nuts and bolts and not have. Another thing they didn't like was some of the stories I tell. Like it was HR. So I tell this story about HR processes disconnected back at my old place. It took me 2 months to get a paycheck because there was no single place of record to, I'd have to call campus. I'd have to call medical center. I'd have to call payroll over on campus, right? There was no like, so this is a story I tell when I talk about how old school HR processes can be disconnected. This person didn't like that.
So I got
Like,
a question for you right away, Micah. Like,
Yeah.
was this a private class, a public class?
oh, okay. Private.
Okay, that kind of like keys me into the idea that one, they might not like each other, but also they also probably all work together and they're like, we don't really, because I think sometimes like what happens in those situations are like, we all know each other. You're just here to drop off this training knowledge. Like, just put the box over there, like, and get out of here, Amazon driver, right? So I wonder if maybe we could find a way to like frame it differently, right? Like to tell them why it is that we're doing this intro. Like I sometimes kind of like let people peek behind the curtain. Like, I'm asking you these questions because here's what I'm trying to find out about you.
Oh, and I do. Like, I even like I handwrite notes as we're doing introductions, and like at the end of it, I'm like, all right, everybody. So we did a few things, right? Like, I learned some things. I can tailor the course a little bit to you. You were able to test out your audio, but it was very much like they already had all the Lego pieces. And they already knew all the people they were going to work with to put the Lego thing together. They just wanted me to show up and give the Lego pamphlet. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Now go build your thing. I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem like anybody had anything, and this just happened today, so I figured we could talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good topic. Perfect. Yeah,
love it.
So I think there's like two things here, Sean, and anybody else feel free to like pitch in here. I'm like, right away I'm thinking to myself, okay, so yeah, maybe that happens. Was if it was only one person, I might chalk it up to just like Adam Grant in the Warden School, like, will often say that we are sometimes as people pleasers, especially in training, like we're what we call agreeable, right? And it just really gets under our skin when somebody doesn't like the thing that we did. And I wonder if you had a disagreeable person. And by the way, being disagreeable isn't necessarily terrible, right? It just means that they're not as interested in the same kinds of social interactions that we might be as agreeable. Right. And the majority of people, I think, like the research says something like 60 or 70% of people are more agreeable than disagreeable. But at the end of the day, some people, like, I don't think you did anything wrong. Right. And I don't know I don't know if I would take that one outlier, right, and then immediately go to change, because it might just be like that one person was not to like it, you just weren't to their taste. And I sometimes like
happens.
Yeah. So what do you think, man? Like,
oh no, I'm not going to drastically change my approach. It's just, it definitely, like you said, though, it's on my brain because, and some of the other like numbers that they gave for content and other things like that, great, but just did not like me. And so you're totally right there. It's in my head, and it's the like, no, everybody has to like the way I do everything, and it's not. I know that.
Well, and on that, let's see if we can spread this out to the broader. What about the rest of you guys? What other solutions do you guys have? Bianca, Casey, Bill?
Yeah, I have a question as a total outsider. Hey, Micah. Nice to meet you. I'm Bianca from BTS. Work with Sean on Shark Camp. If any of you have heard of Shark Camp at ServiceNow. But my question is, did the participant have an issue with your example from like a DEI perspective? Did they not like diversity and inclusion example? So I know that that's like really important at ServiceNow. Was that the intent of the pushback? That particular example?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There was nothing in there about that. It was, it was introductions. Didn't like the stories. It wasn't any particular story they didn't like. That was just one example I used right now. Right, HR is disconnected. But yeah, like the tangents took too long. Like we got done in perfect time. Like I don't know. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I don't think that was it.
Okay, just curious. I think that's important, like especially from a ServiceNow perspective, to be
Totally
super inclusive. Like think about the examples that we're using. I've been cognizant of that in all of the work that I'm doing at ServiceNow. So I was just came off the top of mind.
Totally.
I think if we continue with Ben's point of view of being a private versus a public class, private classes, they're probably thinking, why do we need to do this when we know each other? Well, maybe the way we present that is, hey, I want to get to know you as much as you know each other, so I can probably, I don't know, frame some of the examples that could help you or something to that matter.
Yep.
Sometimes it's hard because they will ask questions specifically to their company, and we're like, well, I'm not a solution consultant. I cannot help you with that, right? But if we can frame some of our examples, hey, you're in the medical industry. How can you do this? Whatever it is.
Yep.
So framing it the introductions that way could maybe help. I just read what he put there, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Let's delete that.
Yeah, because it does seem a little bit like an unreasonable ask. I mean, I have in the past like skipped over that. Like if the room was too big, right, and I've done like a different, and I've switched up the exercise, the intro exercise that sometimes we might do as kind of a solution to that. If the room is either too big or the room is, I sense, like hostile to doing like let's go around the room and introduce everybody so that the instructor gets a sense of what's going on. Instead, you might break them into groups, right? And then have somebody report back, like, what's the consensus about like what we want to achieve today, right? Because like that sometimes will help in those situations where they feel like there's at least something, like there's something that they can give you like in a packaged format rather than like, hi, my name is Ben and I like long walks on the beach and reading by the campfire, right? Like, I think sometimes people like in a business setting just get like, and I don't think it's correct either, but like, I think they just are like, this is work and it's all work.
Right. It's that sense of,
don't waste my time, kid.
Yeah. I had a guy, and I say this stuff like I'm the old man, but 20 years ago, and Casey probably will sit and remember because I came home from the mall wrapped up because he was like, you're horrible. And I don't know why I'm here. And he just flat out, like 10 minutes into the class, he was like, you're horrible. This is a waste of my time. I was on this other product, so I don't want to be on, and this was pre-ServiceNow. And I went, that may be the case, but we're here. And really, I fell back on the thing that I always talk about, that idea that my job is to walk you through this content to this end at this conclusion. And I am sorry that you don't like it, but at the end, what I need you to judge me on is we will walk through this content to this conclusion in this time frame. And it was the funniest thing. At the end, he followed up with me with an email and said, I'm being transferred to a skill set that I don't like. I'm angry about it. And that was my gig. And in fact, after that, he wound up being a person who I think for a solid 10 years after that would shoot me an email and go, hey, how's it going? Hey, whatever, because I just rolled with it. Yep. And he invited me. His side hobby was working at the observatories that do the I'm going to say that wrong, the giant telescopes. And he was like, hey, if you're ever going to Hawaii and you want to go see the giant observatory, let me know. I can get you in. And I was like, weren't you the guy that? So that roll with it piece is out there. Let me ask in our 3 minutes, who else? Anybody else have other suggestions? Bill, Casey, Lisa?
Well, I really, really liked Ben's suggestion. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Lisa Schwartz, ITSM Academy. Yeah, I really like that suggestion. My only other thought is consider about what you're saying in your agenda, since it's a private client, just to set the expectation where, Micah employs the technique, the grand technique of storytelling, to just something like that
Nice.
in there that will help set that expectation.
Nice.
So that's my only.
Well played.
Okay.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Like, you frame it in a way like, this is a value add right now. What we're doing is intense psychological work so that I can understand just a little bit better about you, so I can tailor this course to make it just what you need. I like that too. Like, I was thinking the other thing too is, and I wish that I understood better what it is that I've done in the past when I've had like one of Sean's sort of like God, my first mentor, he used to call them bears in the chairs, right? Or like the prisoner.
That's awesome. I'm putting that down here.
Yeah. And I don't understand what it is specifically that I've done to kind of not placate, but it's almost like judo flip. It's like you let them, like you kind of rope-a-dope them in it, like, and you just kind of let them go, and then you're like, oh yeah, totally, yeah, and then you just make one or two changes, and then like they become your buddy, like after that, like they just, sometimes it's just like they want to be heard, so it's like you take that energy and they're like, this is all business, and I'm not happy to be here, right? And you just kind of like flip them, and I wish I knew a little bit better how that works. It's just like at this point I've never really examined it personally, and I don't know if anybody else has that kind of, like, if they've thought about that.
To me, that's the pizza boy mentality, right? I realized when I wrote that because, in case you remembers, that I had this professor who was like, you don't understand how lucky you are to have me in your class. And this was like 3 years ago. And I'm like, buddy, I would not hesitate to guess that I may make more money than you. So you can back off on the, here's where you are. But then it occurred, he couldn't see any of us, and he thought we were all freshmen in college and lucky to be and honored to be. And then it flipped to me and said, when I deliver training, or when he was delivering training, what he didn't realize was he was my pizza boy. He was delivering service. And I think, Ben, the thing you're hitting on is just that. When you flip your framework to, I'm here to serve you, and I wrote it in the notes as, show them your belly, because that's what they roll over and they're like, hey, I'm just here to help you in any way I can. Then they're like, oh, all this trying to tear your throat out isn't really worth it to me. And then that's almost what that makes that judo flip happen to me. Is like, you're like, look, and when I did that, it was almost that feeling of, I don't have any skin in this game. I'm simply here to serve you. And I love doing what I do, and my job is to serve you. And when we're done, I'm going to have served you, and we'll move on. So however I can do in this 3 days for you, then I think that's the nature of the judo flip that you're talking about. That I'm performing a service. Whatever I can do with that service is your gig. Oh, that was a bell. Well, I'm kind of psyched. This was kind of an experiment instead of a practice teach. We thought we'd throw it and see what we got.
It worked.
I feel like it did. I hope it did with you guys. And Lisa, Bianca, Bill, I hope you guys bring other people into this and recognize this. I'm going to skip I'm like, shoot, we're at intros. And we didn't get time because we hit right on the mark. So do you guys mind giving like a super quick intro and run through the room? And I'll say, just jump in there. Who wants to throw something down real fast?
Sure. Lisa Schwartz at TSM Academy. We do IDLE, DevOps, Agile, Value Stream, SRE, that kind of process related training. And Sean and I have known each other for a very long time.
Lisa was responsible for making me both sane and slightly more educated today.
I'll take it. I will take it.
We appreciate that.
Sorry.
Hi, so thanks for inviting me to your party. I'm Bianca Cowan. I am with BTS. So some of the implementations that I've been working with ServiceNow are Basecamp, SharkCamp for customer success, customer outcomes, AEs, SCs, now with partners. Done a lot of other work from SKOs, et cetera, but the majority of the simulation work that BTS is doing with ServiceNow is around new hire onboarding. Sean asked me to just tag along to talk about, some best practices around facilitating the simulation. So I'm here. I love the fact that you all get together to hone your craft. I think that's really cool.
And by SKO, I'm presuming that's sales kickoff.
Yeah, so we did the sales kickoff 2021. We weren't there this year. So
Gotcha. Okay.
we did about 2,500 virtual. Wish I could have been with you all. I know that you all wanted to be in person and then it went hybrid again. So I see Micah.
Next year.
I
Like
know.
it'll happen. We'll get back
Next
to
It'll
it.
year.
happen.
Next year.
Yeah,
Next
I hope to
So-
see you all in 3D.
You facilitated virtually 2,500 people on sales training ramp up.
In our org, we had about 40, and then we had 2 times 40 supporting, and then I was behind the scenes online for 48 hours total. But that's not the worst. I did Cisco pre-COVID for 67 hours. On camera, pre-COVID, 67 hours, no sleep.
What?
Wow.
No.
Right?
3 time zones. Yeah, it's so crazy, and it was pre-COVID too, which was insane.
Well, and Bianca, I'll share this to you, to other people, and if you want to share people in your organization, one of the things I'm trying to do for ServiceNow trainers or other trainers in general, I'd like to spread this beyond just ServiceNow trainers, because I think anybody who's delivering or facilitating could grow from getting in. And man, my secret, I keep saying this, and I keep hoping, I have a person that I keep wanting to get in here, and she works for Redken, and she travels to teach people how to do hairstyling. And I'm like, how? Come on, we're a bunch of tech IT seminar. How cool would it be to hear someone who flies all over the country to teach hair coloring and hear what her audience is like? So next up, I'm going to peg Bianca on just that and ask her a little bit about her audience and stuff. But I want to make sure I get everybody else in too. So we got Lisa, we got Bianca, Casey, Bill.
Yeah, hi, Bill Largen. Work with a company called ECS. I'm one of their technical trainers in the training department. Background in IT management and running IT departments, and that's how I got into training for ServiceNow. Currently doing a lot of training with government, which is interesting, and military organizations, which is even more interesting. And as part of that, kind of rolling into some of the BA and BPC work. Have known Sean since met him at Knowledge, and he's actually paid me the greatest compliment I ever received as an instructor. So,
What was that?
Well,
Well, I was gonna all right, don't leave us hanging.
And that
You
was
could say that and then be like the end.
we were teaching a class in security incident management, and the textbook and the presentation wasn't ready at the time that class started. So a slide popped up that had should not have been there and really had little to do with what we were training. And we worked right through it. We included it as part of the presentation and kept going. And Sean, I don't know if you remember saying this, but it's like, at least we know Bill can bullshit his way through anything.
Nice. Just roll with it. Roll with it.
No, I had no recollection. As
Yeah,
manager, I had no experience.
I would deny that too. But it's kind of the essence of the sometimes as an instructor, it's kind of the essence of the one page ahead, right? So, and I think that's part of that. We can be really prepared, but at the same time, you get the room that is completely different than what you expect. And you go to teach the next thing, and it's really hard to be much more farther ahead than that one page. So
yeah, that is kind of our world. Russell, Victor, Ben, Casey. I'm going. I probably don't want to forget the other person in the room that shares the last name with me.
Well, you can sleep in the garage if you want.
Oh.
I'm totally kidding. I love you.
Final round.
I'm Casey,
Fight.
and I am currently the manager of sales enablement for North America at a company called Cyber Reason. We do cybersecurity, ransomware, fixing ransomware, I should say. So it has been quite the ride. I've been there 8 weeks. Before that, I was in sales in education technology and have been in training and training development, and I've just been all over the place. So quite a few sales enablement training type questions too, if we ever get a chance to get to them. But poor Sean gets dragged into lots of my stuff. I'm like, oh, honey, we got this thing. Do you have any ideas? And he's like, give it to me. What do you think? So thank you for all your help.
before that, she was a master trainer on a federal project, traveling all over the country on for CompUSA, where I had to only chase her across like 15, 25 states before I convinced her to date me and then marry me. So a little bit of work, but I got there. Victor, Ben?
I'll let Mr. Victor go first.
Victor Colon. I am a training delivery manager here in ServiceNow. I started as a trainer 5 years ago. I got my little thing sent to me for 5 years.
Oh, you got the eternal flame.
Yeah, exactly. That same thing. But now I am in the manager position. There you go. Everybody got it, right? I'm in a manager position. I don't teach anymore. I do miss sometimes
Dumpster
being in
fire.
front of a class. Sometimes I do miss being in front of a classroom teaching. Seeing students' eye when they had the aha moment. But then I read some of the comments. I read surveys every week, and I read some of the comments, and I'm like, yeah, I don't miss that. I don't miss having people that complain about.
Oh, so you saw mine already today. Great.
Victor, one could argue that you do still teach. It's just in a different way.
Ooh.
True.
My wife.
Hopefully, I empower my trainers to do stuff like this, and come to these meetings and practice their skills, because we can always improve. So hopefully,
Lots of coaching has occurred, right, Victor? That's all for me.
Oh yeah,
So that's a form of teaching.
Good thing I have a great right hand man on my side that helps me with that. So, and that's Sean, by the way.
She knows because you're coaching her husband. So, Micah, Ben, let's roll him down quick.
Micah, I'm a trainer at ServiceNow. I've been here for 6.5-ish years. Yep, that's me. Hi.
Yep.
Is that quick enough?
I was gonna say like same. Just Ben, just some guy. Like that's all.
See, there's that OBS stuff you were talking about, Sean.
Right. And so Ben rolls this piece, which will be the last part. I tried to put it on a beer theme today, Ben, just so that I have the I forget what I had. I had the something, the mash, and the malt, the mash, and the hops.
Ooh,
so we're actually going to take, now that everybody knows the players, and hopefully that we get you guys to tell. I'm going to set up March just so that we know. I'm going to give you the little lead in here. March, we're going to shift to talking a little bit less about tech and more into facilitation and clever tricks and tips, because April, and I want to be clear about this, Ben and I have a tradition, and this will be our, Ben, just so that I went back in our records, this will be our 5th April Fool's cold teach.
Really?
At which point, yeah, it'll be our 5th. At which point, not always April 1st, because we have a couple of regular contestants that have, believe it or not, weddings and anniversaries to celebrate on April 1st.
And they met on our show. No, I'm just kidding.
As of course you would have a wedding on April 1st. But it'll be sometime in the very beginning of April that we'll do our annual April cold teach, in which point someone will volunteer to step into the cold seat, and we will all come up with a topic for them, give them 3 minutes, and they will teach whatever that is for 10 minutes and try to keep us all enthralled.
Victor did say he missed teaching courses.
Good, Victor, I see it in your future. But anyway, I wanted to let you guys know we're doing today. I'm gonna hopefully learn some things and share some things from Bianca, and then we'll talk tech with the time that we have left over. Next month, we're going to move more to facilitation, which will ramp us right into our April 1st cold teach window. So that said, I want to see if I can shift gears to Bianca.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
I absolutely can.
That's good.
Okay, cool.
Into the virtual facilitator.
Yeah, again, tell me if any of this is, you get it, you want me to move on. I'd love to hear from Micah and Ben too about the OBS stuff. We tried a little bit of that last year. I'd love to get your insights on the tech. But what I wanted to share with you was a couple things that Sean and I discussed when we were doing partner Shark Camp. So BTS has delivered Shark Camp for ServiceNow for the past few years. We've done customer outcomes based base camp, and now we've developed a Shark Camp for partners. And what we have uncovered is, what's a little bit.
Bianca?
Yes.
I am so sorry. It's Lisa. I'm not really familiar with it. Can you give me like the 1 minute lowdown so I'm up to speed?
You got it, girl. No, thank you
Thanks.
for interrupting me. So no, that's why Sean wanted me to participate. So Shark Camp at ServiceNow is a larger program that ServiceNow puts on for new AEs, SCs, entering into the organization. So think about a sales role coming into the org.
They're totally got it.
Yep. They're going through a whole onboarding.
Yep.
Process. What we're doing, what BTS delivers, is just the simulation. And so Shark Camp has been really, really, really well received from not just the simulation perspective, but everything, where they're bringing in speakers, they're doing product knowledge and all that. What the simulation does is it brings the opportunity for the new hire to practice some skills as they navigate the sales process.
Awesome.
Okay.
I love it.
Yeah. So some things.
I'm sorry, I'm chiming in. One more thing that I'm filling in, and this is Bianca. When I got to do this with you, I learned so much stuff that I want to fill in the gap for some people who haven't done any sales training. But the biggest thing is to me, the BTS simulation spreads the gap between feet on the floor doing the real pitch and all the stuff you're taught in a sales training.
Yeah.
Because the stuff you're taught in a sales training is great, but you don't want to test it out for the first time in front of your real customer, right? Where there's millions of dollars at stake. And so Bianca's company, and I want to mention this because Bianca, you don't just work with, it's cool that I like to think of ServiceNow like we're all the beginning and end of all things. Right?
You're my best customer.
Right. Just like all your other customers. But
no, you're really like my best customer.
So. But when I hear some of the other customers you work with, you build simulations for people training huge companies to deliver and explain their products to their customers. And you're the step between here's all the training, now go talk to your customers, right? You're the simulation for that.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah. So one thing that I think Sean and I have had the opportunity to distill is that as a trainer, and I'm using air quotes, not in a bad way, because the opportunity when we do a simulation is we've got all the content in the simulation. The trainer is just there to be the person that connects the dots. So you don't have to be the subject matter expert like you might need to be in a technical training class. So I want to just point that out. So that's like the really cool thing is the way that we create the simulations. Like you want to have the connective tissue that understands some of the customer problems or the problems that maybe the products are solving for. But the way we've created the simulations is that you don't have the right or the wrong answer. There's like varying degrees of correct and incorrect. So I think that's kind of cool in the way in which we do some virtual facilitation. What I was prepared to share today, and just tell me if you want me to blow through it, turn it off, ask questions, but was really around like virtual facilitation. And I know that in the last 2 years, every single one of you has shifted from being in person to being virtual or in a varying degree. And so a lot of what, and are these slides turning for you?
Yep, looks good.
Cool, okay. Sorry. I've got stupid dogs. So a couple things that I wanted to share with you was really around, how do we engage people in a virtual format? That's really what I wanted to talk with all of you about. So one is how do you deliver a simulation, but also how do you deliver like impactful experiences virtually? And so I hope this is impactful for you. If not, tell me, just move it on, girl. Like, we know all this. So it was an interesting slide that I had here, like 66% of employees were working from home. This was in 2020, like just getting into COVID. And what we found was, and I'm just going to build this out from an HBR article, that as you all know, on average, our work days are 49 minutes longer. So, you know, we don't have to commute anymore, but yet we're working even longer. Isn't that terrible? And 13% more meetings are shorter. And so I know that you probably are doing like 45-minute meetings versus 1 hour long meetings, and we have more emails than ever. And so if we want to think about that, if we're looking at a virtual delivery format, how do we create exceptional experiences that are shorter yet more impactful? And that's really what I wanted to share with all of you today. And we want people to understand, we want them to care, and we want them to take action. All right, that seems like super, you know, easy to say. So what in your minds does an exceptional virtual presenter, what do they do? Just shout it out. Tell me, what do they do?
Engage.
Yep, they get the learners not only talking to them, but to each other.
Right. It's not a one-way dialogue. They get them to engage. What else? Micah, what do they do? They've got
Engage.
And
engage was my big one there. It's got to get people to interact with you in one way or another. Stories.
Well, we've got resonance, right? We've got good stories that people can resonate with. That's why I was calling on you. And we call this PEP. You know, you're prepared, you're engaged, and you're practiced. And so these are like very, very, very easy things to think about. But your role and the roles of your colleagues during a virtual presentation is that you need to be super practiced, and it needs to feel like you're not delivering a script. All right. We want to be super engaged as if we were there in person. I've got a couple other slides that I wanted to, here we go. I wanted to just share this with you. And I've got like a really good PDF that I'll send to Sean if he wants to share it with the group around virtual best practices. No, I have like a 20-page PDF around what we did internally at the beginning of 2020. And I'll just give you all a little bit of insight. 2020, the majority of our business was all in person, and we were engaging learners from 1,000 people to 4,000 people in person. And in about 8 weeks, we were able to shift all of those in-person deliveries to virtual. Well, that was a huge learning curve, but we also came up with a lot of best practices. So I want to share those back with all of you. That says, hey, as a virtual trainer, these are some things that you want to think about. I don't know that all of these are new to you, but they might be some new things that you might want to be thinking about. And so here's a couple things just about thinking about facilitating virtually. And again, we typically are facilitating simulations. So again, there's not a right or a wrong answer at times. There's nuances. So it's a little bit different than maybe a technical training. But thinking about, you know, your agenda. What are you doing to be memorable as you check in? Thinking about your run of show. How are you staying aligned with your agenda? How are we keeping people engaged? And then, of course, practicing. What we love to see is when you're going through a simulation or a training, how are people engaged, that it doesn't feel like you're reading off of the script. I'm just going to click through a couple of these, and then I have a couple things to consider. And tell me, show of hands, things take longer virtually versus face-to-face.
Yes.
Everybody is, yes. It's so funny, like we do our run of show, and I always add 8 minutes to the beginning because people are late. We have to, you know, revisit our agenda. Yes. Plan for time that it takes people to send them to breakouts in and out. These are 3 minutes at a time. Thinking about coming in and coming out. We say in our business, 3 hours is about the maximum that we can encourage somebody to sit in front of their Zoom, even with breaks. That's what we try to keep it to 2-3 hour. Also thinking about time zones. And I think Benjamin, you said it was like really, really, really late evening for you. I don't know where you are.
Oh,
but...
no. I'm actually the reverse. So I'm in San Diego. So it's about 4:17 right now. And I think you guys are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you were lying. Okay.
Yes, I was completely false. Yes.
What part of San Diego are you in?
I am just outside the city. I'm near Lemon Grove-ish. So,
Oh, cool. I grew up in Encinitas. I always ask everyone at ServiceNow that's in San Diego, where are they from? So,
nice.
So North County for you. So
North
San
County,
Diego.
Love it. Okay. So, and then poor connectivity. So if somebody is experiencing like really, really, really difficult connectivity, when you put them into a breakout, have somebody else share their screen, have them turn off of their video. All these things like that we cannot control in our home office. These are things that we want to think about when we're putting people into breakouts. These are a few things from a simulation perspective that we consider that I would encourage you to consider. And Sean, I'm sure, is going to give me the yes, ma'am, hands, facilitator, and a technical operator. It is very difficult if you're running the facilitation. You want to use your hands, you want to lean in, you want to be able to run your slides. But if you're having to manage somebody in and out of breakouts or running them into the simulation, get somebody to help you, right? Absolutely. I think we're at a 200% there. Rehearsals. Do your rehearsals with anybody that you can manage within the organization, without the organization. Know your content. I have run today, it was my third option to run a C-suite program that we are running, that we actually delivered to ServiceNow. I was running it internally. It's my third time with an executive that I ran it. I didn't even need slides because we had run it so many times. I didn't need the slides to help me run it. So practice, practice, practice. Know your technology. The fact that if you have to run in and out of breakouts, if somebody loses the slides, you're able to pick that up from there. And then know your cues. If you're working with somebody else, so if Sean and I were working together, we would have the opportunity to say, okay, Sean, as we were talking about in our previous conversation, he knows my audible cue, so I don't have to say, move to the next slide. Like him and I have an option to move to the next slide without saying move to the next slide. And then, all of you know breaks and everything.
One thing, can I add in?
Oh, please, Micah.
Backslide.
Sure.
The know your content and the repetition. You mentioned practicing internally and internally. Also, you can do it just yourself. Record yourself and watch your own delivery. I mean, it's painful to me, but it's good.
I hate that. I do it all the time. I open a Zoom, and I learned that I look up a lot. I look like a freak, like looking up with my eyes. So I have learned, and I used to touch my face a lot, and that I learned that in recording myself on Zoom. Absolutely, Micah. Focus on your camera, focus on the content. Don't look at your other screen. Absolutely. It's
That's a big
so
one.
hard.
Yeah. Because my screen, yeah, totally.
I mean,
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're our own best critics.
There's a thing I'm gonna add in here, and I think I gave it to Casey. There's a camera that it's so ridiculous. I'll send the reference, but it's actually a clear plastic slider. Yeah, it's a clear plastic slider that your camera can sit on, so that you can drop your camera down onto what you're reading. So it looks like you're looking at it. Yeah, I'll add it. But yeah, these tips are fantastic and awesome. Lisa had asked, when you send this, will they include like the detailed notes that you've got as well? So I want to make sure I get that.
Oh, I have even better notes. Like this is just a couple slides. I have 24 pages of content of what we upskilled our internal consultants to do this. So yes, Lisa, I'll send an even better diagnostic of all of this.
Well, there was one thing in particular that was very interesting to me on one of the early slides where it had the tips. It was about exploring the personas. Do you guys have a category of personas put together? Yay! And I'm going to get that. Yay!
Yes, happy to share with it. So it's like the distractor, the know-it-all. So we do have we have facilitation best practices, and I'll share it with all of you. Perfect. But we've actually recently in the last year updated that. So the distractor, the know-it-all, the incognito, the person that's got their camera off, they're on mute, all of that. So I'm happy to share all of that with you. Yeah, we've done, and what are the personas? And how do you help the incognito to engage? How do you help the person that's running 8 minutes late to every meeting? Yes, I will share that with you.
One of my trainers in the physical classroom would always say, if somebody was back late from break, and I always loved it, is when they walked in the room, Joyce would just turn and just like the next words were, and that's definitely going to be on the exam.
Yeah, we don't want to call them out, depending on whatever, your situation is. I think it depends on if it's a class that is for PDUs or if it's a class that is an elective. How do you want to call people out? But I will share virtual facilitation best practices. Definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I used to get right if the person was running late and we would start back up from lunch, I would go all right, guys, when they come back, we're all going to just agree. I'm going to go, and that's the most important thing. Right. And everybody we'll scribble something down and it's the best. And everybody kind of giggles. They're all waiting for the person to come back. It's fun.
Yeah. So again, we've got a million best practices that I'll share. I mean, I don't think that there are so many that I'm sharing with you today that you aren't aware of. But I think the biggest thing that I would encourage all of you to do is practice. And practice outside of, if Bill and Micah are running the same program, practice with somebody outside of that program. Because the person, if Bill and Micah, and I'm just pulling you all because you're opposite on my Zoom here, but if you're clear, you might make assumptions of what that person is asking. So I always try to practice with somebody that isn't part of my project, because they might say, what the heck are you talking about this particular sales process? I don't understand. So get somebody outside of the process to help. So I'll send you all some really great best practices as a follow-up.
And I love one of them you've practiced, and I'm sitting here watching and writing down. You do this so smoothly. You'll pull people into the conversation by going, oh, and when Micah did this, I noticed that, we're going to put Bill and Russell. So they're looped in and suddenly have to pick up and join in the conversation. And that's
from, again, a DEI perspective, we want to be careful about how we call on people. And again, this is ServiceNow. That's your culture. I'm always, I ask a client before I call on someone, is it okay to call on people? Right. So it depends on your class. So again, if it's for a PDU, you should be able to call on somebody. If it is a new hire, pardon?
What's a PDU?
Like a professional development unit. So if a partner is in there and they need to do this in order to keep their partner certification, we'll call on them. But if we've got a new hire, we're CEO, exactly. If we've got a new hire, we might want to be a little bit more gentle about calling on people. What I do oftentimes is I say, I'm going to run my Zoom, I'm going to run through the Zoom, see who I land on, be prepared. So you send them into the breakout with the expectation that when you come out, you need to be prepared to share. If you don't get anybody sharing, you might volunteer someone.
Right.
But also you might want to have plans.
Okay.
So
That's
somebody in a program, maybe it's your sponsor or somebody that your sponsor says, this is a person that you can call on. Again, we want to be inclusive. We don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Yep. I think that's great and a really good point. That a whole idea of checking cultures and making sure you verify with the culture before you deal with them.
Yes.
Really, that's just brilliant. And really appreciate you coming and doing this. It's cool to me. The part that I think, and I want to help position as we go through, I want to bring this to broader and broader audiences. So it's not just ServiceNow. And that piece that you're doing is you work with many other customers. And at some point, as this grows, there will be other customers here. My bride is sitting here going, wait, tell me more about what they do with simulation. So you may be hearing some follow-up there. The other piece I got out of this, and I took notes, so I'd love for all of you to check that share doc and add in whatever you picked out of it that I didn't catch. So help make it your doc as well as mine, and add stuff to it. But another big piece was that aspect of
For
practice.
Victor, sorry.
Oh, right. Well, with Victor and the practice piece, it's kind of funny because I get to that aspect. We all the trainers delivering, and Bill, I know you have people that you're training up, right? That aspect of, well, I'm going to deliver. Well, that's great. The delivery is this long. Well, that's great. But the prep is how long? Well, that's right. It's this long. But some of those practice ideas, like Micah said, record yourself, and those pieces I think are huge. Now the challenge is how do we make that mandatory? So, or like, yeah, because I won't record myself unless I have to. I mean, I got other, so that's a cool practice technique to figure out the next challenge for managers to figure out how they make that happen.
Hey, Sean, I just wanted to make you aware. I think we're under 5 minutes left in this call.
I know. So that puts us out to the tight time. And I want to know, you all are welcome to hang, but we wanted to switch us to the next piece, which would be a quick talk on the hops, which is the technical stuff. For the technical stuff, my answer, you're dropping out, Lisa? No, well, hang on one sec. I'll give you this.
I am.
5 minutes. I'm going to do this. We thought for this, and with Micah, you here, it's great because you have me, beginner, Micah, a slightly more experienced, and Ben, the expert. I'm going to do 5 minutes or less on, hey, these are the 3 tools I use. And then Micah and Russ, and then I'm going to back out and go, Micah and Ben can explain all the stuff that I can't.
Well, so I was going to ask, are we going to get booted from the room and then we have to rejoin on this
meeting?
Oh,
yeah, it's something about an hour limit.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if that'll happen. Okay. Should we just throw a quick Zoom link up in the chat this time for this last part? Because then we can share it out too.
Do that, Ben. You throw the Zoom link in your room. I'll do the 5 minutes until we get dropped. And what I'll tell you is there are 3 tools. I put out an outline and the references to it. The first thing we use is OBS, and I put in the outline, which you can find in that note sheet. OBS is a mixer for all of your inputs and outputs when doing virtual presentation. It's basically a mixer for your video, your audio, and anything else you want to pump in. So if you're wondering why does OBS matter or why would I use OBS, it's a system that you download, and once you have it, you have easier access to being able to switch cameras and easier access to being able to switch media. Now, just like Bianca was talking about practice, the thing about it is there's actually 2 pieces. First, you have to learn how to make it work. You have to load it. And then once you get it loaded, you have to learn how to practice to use it. And it's almost like the simulation thing. Once you get it running, there's that I have to make it smooth.
Yep.
So once you get that piece, there's getting a little bit of facility with being able to move things around and change them by moving over from one camera to another. And essentially, when you do that, you're really just steering your system into pointing to different media systems.
So before we get bounced, I just want to, because I'm looking at the time going, it's counting down. About to end. Hit that link. I'm going to go ahead and jump over there, and then I'm going to stop the recording on this one. So I'll see you guys over in the other room.
I'm going to stay till we get booted, but I'm not going to rejoin.
Okay. We'll record over there as well. Lisa, thank you so much.
Huzzah! We made it back.
Huzzah!
Let
I don't
me
know if
stop
I don't know if everybody got that link in.